Hello, friends, and welcome back to Civics Minute. Throughout early American history, and back in the colonial period, tariffs were regularly employed as a means of generating revenue for the central government. First, as I mentioned in my previous videos, by the British in North America, but then by the federal government of the United States itself. In fact, after independence and after the disastrous failure of the early central government under the Articles of Confederation and the adoption of the United States Constitution and federal government, the very first law passed at the federal level in the United States was a tariff bill signed in 1789 that applied some pretty humble tariffs on various luxury goods and imports, intended to generate tax revenues that would ultimately be used to help pay off some of the country's not unsubstantial war debt. Tariffs were then used pretty regularly throughout the United States and up until the 1930s, but they were always a contentious issue, with supporters of tariffs using protectionist rhetoric, arguing that they would generate revenue for the government and protect developing American industries from competition from far stronger and more robust Western and Central European economies, and opponents arguing that they placed an undue burden on rural agrarian people, the farmers and ranchers and, yes, plantation owners, who made up sizable portions of the United States population, a vast majority throughout much of the 19th century. During the Gilded Age, immediately after the United States Civil War, a Republican-led pro-industry administration that controlled Washington for the vast majority of the period stretching from 1865 to 1900 put in place some absolutely monumental tariffs meant to assist and protect American industry. But what this also did, at a time of corporate deregulation and practically no protections for workers or wages, was embolden major American businesses to raise their prices significantly because they didn't have to worry about foreign competition, right? They didn't have to worry about cheaper goods coming in from Britain or from Japan or from France, while also not raising their wages or employing necessarily more people. What this ended up doing was creating an environment that spurred on the Gilded Age's notorious income inequality and epidemic poverty, because prices were artificially inflated to a point where companies could very safely elevate their prices beyond what was really comfortable for a lot of the people they were trying to market their goods to in the first place. Tariffs may have reached their absolute highest during the Gilded Age, but they decreased very briefly under President Woodrow Wilson in the 1910s and early 1920s, before spiking up again, reaching their second highest all-time point in the U.S. under the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, a protectionist bill put in place during, you'll love this, the Great Depression, in an attempt to protect American industry and the workforce, but actually only further exacerbating the issues associated with the Depression by triggering loads of reciprocal tariffs from trade partners all around the world that placed an even greater chill on the United States' production and sales capacities. Not great, according to the vast majority of scholars who've studied it. Smoot-Hawley was the second highest tariff level ever recorded in the United States, with the average level of tariffs for all goods, keeping in mind now that some goods weren't tariffed at all, reaching somewhere around or just over 50%. That's 50% of what you are likely to pay for being artificially inflated by half by 1930, 1931. The highest levels ever recorded during the Gilded Age were steeper still, but from about 1865 to 1934, the United States typically had average tariff levels somewhere around 40 to 60%, which were absurdly high, even by the standards of the time.